Hey there. It's the end of the night here on Friday, February 2nd, 2024. We're just finishing up the college basketball day. Nice to see the algorithm pretty much doing what it's supposed to do. There's one game that hasn't finished yet. It's Nevada versus San Jose State. Everything else is over. And games above 20% margin, Cornell, Kent State, Quinnipiac, and Ryder have all won. Nevada still going on. They're up by 19 points in the first half. So hopefully they'll hold on as the algorithm would predict. This is what makes this worth it, is just throwing all these stats together, having the algorithm calculate the formulas that we needed to calculate and give us answers about games where there are distorted or lopsided matchups. One thing I want to mention about today's 15 games is look at Creighton losing to Butler, and the odds makers had that at minus 625. That's tied for the third or fourth biggest favorite of the day. The algorithm had this Creighton. Well, sorry, not the odds makers. The algorithm, however, puts Creighton all the way down here as the 10th pick of the day, not the fourth pick of the day. And they lose, which means had I done, a different video yesterday where I'd said, hey, take the teams that the odds makers say are the biggest favorites, take those top 5 games, you would end up having taken Creighton and lost. So assuming Nevada does not lose, the algorithm really beats the odds makers pretty hard by moving this Creighton game down here, and they lose a shootout, absolute shootout. Another cool thing about the algorithm, it predicted, projects scores of the game. That's what this stuff is right here. And we have a algorithm total points projection right here. What was the game that had the highest projected total points? It was this Creighton game. And that was the game that had the most points. Ended up having 197 points in that game. And there you go. It didn't work off for the second biggest one. This game just barely missed. And the odds makers get it so close to right as it only has 156 points. That's this Iowa-Ohio State game. But point is it's interesting to see stuff like that. When you look at the extremes, the highest projected score, point scoring game was the highest game by far in this Creighton Butler game. So algorithm's still doing a lot of awesome things. I'm happy to see this, and I just want to, take a look at Saturday because there's only like 140 games. So of these 140 games that pop up here, the algorithm is out here to give you answers. It's saying play the teams that have a margin greater than 20%. And it turns out that there are 28 of those games. Here's another thing. You don't want to take an injured team, which means you don't want to take Marquette here because they're injured. You don't want to take Wagner because they're injured. You can't take San Francisco because there's not even a line on the game because they're such a big favorite. So of these 28 games, you can really only play 25 of them. Colgate, Western Illinois, Florida State, Vermont, Pittsburgh, Florida Atlantic, Southern, Bradley Stetson, High Point, College of Charleston, North Carolina, Wilmington, Robert Morris, Grand Canyon, UC Davis, not Marquette because they're injured, Boise State, Colorado State, BYU, Xavier, James Madison, McNeese State, Morehead State, North Carolina Central, Appalachian State, Arkansas, Pine Bluff. Those are the 25 teams it says that have a great chance of winning. You can throw them in like a round robin or some types of parlay situations. But what the algorithm's telling us with those 25 games is that generally you're going to see it hit 90% of those or better, which means that you end up going 23-2 is an expected outcome, believe it or not, of those 25 games. Will that happen? Will it go 20-5, or will it go 24-1, or will it go 25-0? All of those things have happened in the past. I don't necessarily know, but it's about 90% historically, games above 20% margin. So that's a lot of games. And playing these things in terms of parlays and stuff like that, There are some ones with some decent lines in the 200s here. These are not bad lines, some of these games. There's a lot you can do there, but I'm not going to be long-winded and talk about every game and go crazy. I'm just going to say that the algorithm is really good at showing drastic disparities. And so those are the teams that are most likely to win tomorrow. And that's the advice that the algorithm really gives you. If you want to gamble, you can look at all these 140 games and start looking at weird, weird matchups, things where there's big underdogs that the algorithm predicts will win. I'm looking at that right now. These are not things that happen as frequently. These are not 90 percenters, but there's some things like North Dakota State at plus 180 with a really nice strength of schedule here. That's probably not a bad one. Jacksonville State against an injured New Mexico State, but it's only plus 118. Colorado over Utah, who's injured or was as of yesterday. This Utah State against San Diego State, but anyway, whatever. We're not going to gamble. We're just going to go with what the algorithm says to play. And it's those games at the top, lumping those together in round robins in chunks of like 5 or 6 teams. Here's what I can't guarantee anything in sports betting, but you can mathematically, I can almost guarantee with like a 99% certainty that of these 20, 8 games or 25 games that we discussed up here all the way down to Colgate, that of these games where there's really 25 of them to choose from, that you will have streaks of 5 and 6 in a row in that chunk of 25. Absolutely you will. 99% plus certainty that you'll have a streak of 6 or better. You'll probably have a streak of, I would say on average in those 25 games, you'll probably have a streak of 11 or more of those 25. It's in some fashion here, meaning you could get, you could win 4, lose 1, and then win 11 and lose 1 and then win 6, whatever it is. You are going to hit, but you're definitely going to hit 5 or 6 at least in a row. So if you chunk those together in chunks of 6 at a time, that would give you about 4 round robins worth. And that means that one of those round robins, you're hitting all 6. And if you can get paid more than 4 to 1 on that, you're going to make some money depending on which ones it is. And also when you do a round robin, what I mean by doing a round robin is something like this. If I'm saying let's do 6, right? Because you're going to hit 6. If you look at what you could spread out, so I believe it's 57 bets. Say you make a $57 wager where you put $1 on every single combination of the parlay strings. Here, there's a 0 under San Francisco. Let's just call it like minus 10,000 or something that's worthless, but it's still on there. You make 43% on this round robin. So it's really, really bad, right? You're not making 4 to 1 on this. You're only making 43%. Now, not all of the lines are going to be that awful, right? For example, let's bring in some games with some better lines. We'll do that by filtering and sorting. And we've got to get that San Francisco out of there. Well, I'll just grab it real quick. So the games that are above 25% margin, 20% margin, that have the best lines, we're going to sort it right now by best lines. More sort options, descending by money line. Are these games. Notice the color that's doing the color comparison. That actually shows you a big drop off. There are 10 of these. And Wagner's on there. We can't include the Wagner. So there are actually 9 of those. Okay. You can see them here. There are going to be 9 of these. We're not going to use Wagner. So we're going to take Bradley, put it over San Francisco. And we're gonna take Colorado State and put it over Wagner. All right. The reason why I'm doing that is I'm showing you that you actually have 8 teams here. $238 wager, $247 wager, round robin with these 8 teams. If you hit all of those, you do make over 4-1, but you've got to hit 8 of them. What happens if you lose one? You still make money. What happens if you lose 2? Now you're losing. So you got to get a 6-1 or better, which you're supposed to do because you're supposed to win 90% of these games. I don't want to talk forever and try to recommend everything. I'm just going to say that the algorithm thinks you're going to have a winning day playing those chunks of teams that are above the 20% margin, which I mentioned in the video already. So good luck, everybody. Nevada is up by almost 30 points already in the first half, which is a very good sign. It's a very good sign for the algorithm's results from Friday. And that is the only reason that I continue to do this once in a while is because of this time of year where it's so predictive that we really do put the odds makers to shame, and it does what it says it's going to do. So on a day like Saturday with 140 games, I had to do a video to tell you about those 25 teams essentially, of which you should expect to go 22-3 or better on those 25 teams. So we'll see if that happens. All right. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday. May all your picks be winning. I'm not going to be tracking scores and stuff. I'll be out. Kids got a hockey game and stuff I got going on Saturday, but I'll certainly check in and, and take a look at some of those teams that I mentioned. We'll see how that goes. All right. Good luck. May all your picks